Welcome back. All right, so this is a video I'm doing in concert with one I just did on the hockey channel, even though they're not really related. In my brain, they are. So I did a video on the hockey channel on how I don't view myself as an expert, and expert is a term I don't like. I don't. I think that once you accept the mantle of being seen as an expert, you are opening yourself up to a lot of criticism because you have to be perfect as an expert, and it's tough because nobody's perfect. It's not a thing. And so once you get tagged as you are an expert, every time something doesn't happen the way that you say that you think it will, it becomes, well, you're no expert, even though the word expert doesn't have anything to do with being psychic. So you're not a savant, you're just, here's the knowledge I have. Now, I wanted to talk about something I've noticed on the internet when it comes to entertainment media. So entertainment media, and I mean, I can talk about the news media a little bit too, but it's different, right? So this is, for all your gossip about the celebrities, all the discussion about movies. And what I've noticed is there's a lot of negativity, and people will speak like they're experts on this stuff, and I'm reading them going, huh? So the reason I'm wearing my Dalek jersey, which is one of the best jerseys ever created, absolutely phenomenal. Great job, Geeky Jerseys, on that one. But while I love my Doctor Who jerseys and I love the show, it's clear that there are people on the internet who, no matter what the show does, will hate it. No matter what the show does, they will absolutely drill into your head that this show's the worst thing that ever happened. Don't you dare watch it. This is just absolutely awful. Now, I've talked in recent Doctor Who videos about how I felt like the message just became what the show was. The show was, this is bad, don't do this, don't. And it's like, okay, we're not. It's okay to have a moral to a show, but you shouldn't be beating us over the head with it all the time. A characteristic is not that someone is in a wheelchair. So in other words, a character shouldn't be created in a show just to say, well, see, we've got somebody who's in a wheelchair. They should have a full character who happens to be in a wheelchair. And so that's something I've talked about, right? That whole idea of if they're well-rounded characters who just happen to have a disability, who just happen to be different for whatever reason, then fine. But if the fact that they're different is why they're a character and you don't flesh it out any more than that, you've got an empty show. And I felt like Doctor Who had kind of become an empty show, which is too bad because I still know that Jodie Whittaker is a fantastic actress. I've seen her in things outside of Doctor Who. I think her costume was good as well. I think she looked like the Doctor. I think everything about the show was, in terms of how she portrayed the Doctor, good, but the show around her wasn't. And so that's my opinion on this. And Russell T Davies, since taking over, I think has already done his best to kind of fix things a little bit. And he had 3 specials that he used to fix it, so that he could set it up so Ncuti Gatwa hits the ground running as the new Doctor. So one thing I've noticed, and I'm going to talk about here, is that reviews kind of have become Ragebait and Clickbait. And I'm getting really sick of clickbaity articles. So I do like to read, it's fun to read stuff. And so I'll see, like, an article link, and I'm like, well, that sounds like that might be fun. If it's a list, sure, I'll click on it. But what bothers me is when you click on that link and they spend 14 paragraphs trying to start to get to the point, the next 10 paragraphs thinking about getting to the point, and by the time they get to the point, you're past about 25 different advertisements, and the point is stupid. And so you go, that was a waste of time, and you click out, but they got you. Now, I do go through the Google don't recommend this site. I do that. I absolutely have done that. But they got me to click on it initially. They got me in there, and it's clickbait. So I've seen people talk about clickbait before. Clickbait is that you click on something expecting one thing and you get something else. For instance, if I do a video where I'm talking about a player, but I title it, hey, check out some boobs, that's clickbait. That's wrong. Unless I have birds in the background who happen to be boobies, in which case it's brilliant strategy until all the downvotes show up, right? But anyways, reviews have kind of become, depending on the site, they can be overly positive and overly negative. And when they're overly positive, we all kind of go, that review was really sunshiny. Did they get paid to give good reviews? And we know with the Rotten Tomatoes scandal that broke last year. Was last year? Was it this year? I don't know. Years don't matter. But it was that they were promoting certain movies, and some fresh scores were factored into the overall score, and some of the negative ones weren't. So that doesn't make anything better for anybody. And then there's the Ragebait ones too. So we're going to talk about that. I do think there's an overly critical part of entertainment media. I think there are people who sit down and I think they come into it with an idea of, okay, how can I make people angry this time? What is going to make me angry in this episode? When I watch a TV show and I'm like, that was fantastic, and then I'm reading an article that's like, well, we didn't like this and we didn't like this, and then they make all these just absolutely wild, crazy ideas. So the most recent episode of Doctor Who, the Doctor splits into two different Doctors rather than regenerating from one into the next. And the way I viewed it was simple. That way, the 14th Doctor, that was David Tennant, retires from being the Doctor. The new Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa, number 15, gets to go off and have brand new adventures without the baggage of all of the 14 Doctors and 60 years of history. He'll still have those memories. We'll still talk about all that stuff. We're still going to see Daleks and Cybermen and everything. But it'll be better because it won't be quite as heavy. It started with the 12th Doctor, and I loved Peter Capaldi. But that heaviness starts there. It starts with, I picked this face because I've made some choices and not all of them were good. Done some things. Done some stuff. This face has seen some stuff. And so it was this heavy topic that then continued into Jodie Whittaker's era, where there was some heaviness in there, and it was imbalanced with tonal shifts here and there. But I didn't come on here and do a bunch of like videos on how stupid and horrible and awful everything was. I just didn't watch it. And that's always what I've told people. If a show's making you really mad, don't watch it. The only exception I have is The Flash, because it was so ridiculous and stupid, I couldn't turn away. And I'd watched so many seasons, I had to see how it ended. So ad dollars have a big impact, and this is where the problem is. And if you want to get into all the, I know everybody always talks about government. Look, the moment that big money got into government, you got yourself a problem. And that's my opinion on that. That's just a mistake, a huge mistake. And we could talk about that at another time. But it's had a major impact on news. News used to be, you report the news. Here's what happened today. And you move on. That's it. You don't have to have a bunch of political discussions in there. It doesn't have to be wall-to-wall discussions of the same topic all bloody day. But now, because they need ratings are really important. And the moment that ratings are important to news, you have a problem. The news is the news is the news. It shouldn't have anything to do with ratings. So if I had a news show and I was like, here's the news today, and somebody jumped up and goes, hey, that news didn't get... Okay, let me go from a hockey perspective. If I had somebody overlooking my channel and they said, today's news of the day video only got like 12,000 views. Yesterday got 25,000. We need to punch it up a little bit. Could you throw in a couple of controversial topics as well? Just throw in a couple of controversial... If you could just organically work that in, then you're going to see your view counts go up. They would. Yeah, absolutely. But it shows that that's a problem, because then that would be, well, you'd make more money. And again, I would, right? I would make more money if I did the video I did about a week ago on, nasty comments sent to the Hockey Guy channel, if I'd posted it on the Hockey Guy channel rather than here. But I posted it here because I didn't want it to get 300,000 people to watch it. I was fine with it being on the smaller channel. I didn't post a link to it on the Hockey channel either. So I just felt like, all right, I'm going to go through this comment somebody sent me, and we'll go from there, right? But the ad dollars thing is a problem, because again, if somebody's overlooking my channels, I'm saying that plural, then somebody would have tapped me on the shoulder and said, that video that you did on the Entertainment Guy that got about 10,000 views, you realize if you put that on the Hockey Guy to get about 3 times more views, right? And so then the leaning on me to get more views would be there. And that's, I think, what they go through with media, entertainment media, and mainstream too. Just, well, you got to get more clicks. We need more clicks. We need more money, which again should never be what media is for, what the news is for. It should just be, here is the news. Here is what happened today. The end. But once we got into everybody's opinion has to get stuck in it, well, here we are. And again, that's the whole thing with the internet now. So I wanted to get into some headlines that drive me crazy, and I've stopped clicking on. Why they ruined blank forever. This could be The Big Bang Theory. This could be Cheers back in the day. This could be almost anything. And like the moment this show has died, or rage quitting a show because of. And again, I've looked at some articles and I've been like, this is ridiculous. This is insane. This article is just absolutely just so that they can make all these rage topics trend or whatever they want it to do. There's nothing here. So what drives me nuts is when it's why they, and then the why part is very shaky. And again, it gets into that opinion part, but it makes it sound like, here's my opinion and it's fact. And that's something that I know on the hockey channel I do my best not to do. You know, like I'm not going to say, well, Tyler Myers had a bad night because he's a bad defenseman. That's not a thing. If Myers has a bad night, he has a bad night. But he's not a bad defenseman. So that's the hockey aspect of that here, right? So you have to watch that. And I definitely try to make sure my headlines, my titles for my videos is as generic as possible. And it's not, like the funny part is that apparently I'm doing news wrong, because I look at other channels I follow and their news article videos are so vague in what they tell you, especially wrestling. Backstage Drama in AEW. How many times have you heard about this? Well, watch some wrestling history videos. Watch Dark Side of the Ring. Count the number of times that you hear about a backstage brawl in WWF back in the 80s or the early 90s. They're wrestlers. They go in the ring and they pretend to punch each other. And they do punch each other at times. They're supposed to pull their punches. Sometimes they don't. And then they get into a real fight. It turns into a shoot in the ring. They're fighters. It's what they do. So when I hear, this is terrible. These guys were punching each other backstage. This is a terribly run company. Yes, there's something to that. However, they're large men who have chosen a path where they pretend to fight one another, and I don't like to use the word pretend. But if I say they fight one another, somebody in the comments will say, it's just pretend, it's fake. Come on, wrestling's fake. If it was fake, they wouldn't all have bad hips, bad knees, and bad ankles. But the backstage drama stuff is there, and it feels like it leaks out of AEW more because they're more willing to talk to the dirt sheets than the WWE guys. WWE wrestlers have seen people get fired for talking to the dirt sheet. So that's happened, where somebody who's backstage, they give them information, a false rumor, and then when that rumor hits the dirt sheets, they go, yeah, you're canned, you're out of here. So WWE doesn't mess around. I think there's probably just as much drama backstage in WWE as there's in AEW. However, it's controlled. The wrestlers are in a more controlled environment too, so the physical altercations we've heard about in AEW can't really happen in WWE, but the idea that it's all kumbaya and everybody gets along, that's never been a thing in a wrestling company anywhere ever that I've heard of. Ever. I have friends that are independent wrestlers, and you can talk to them, you get along with everybody, and they're going to be like, no. This guy screwed me over, this guy dropped me on my head, this guy can't wrestle, this guy's terrible. No, they just don't get along all the time, but it's just different. Massive WWE layoffs. I've seen this one lately, and it drives me nuts. Now, it is a shame when people are getting fired right before Christmas. I will agree with that. Right? We saw a coach fired last night in the NHL, and my first thought was, man, it's right near Christmas. He's probably planning on Christmas with his family and everything, and you're firing him. That's awful. Just from a human perspective, I can say that's a terrible thing to do to somebody just in time. Although, you can also look at it and say, or he gets to sit at home for Christmas for the next 2 weeks and he doesn't have to work. There's two ways to look at it. But when I see massive WWE layoffs, it doesn't tell me what they are. That to me is kind of clickbaity, where if it's massive WWE layoffs and I start up the video and at corporate, they fired 50 people today. I feel terrible for those 50 people, but why didn't you put massive corporate WWE layoffs? Because they know it won't get as many views. So if they put massive corporate WWE layoffs, people are going to go, I'm not clicking on that. Massive WWE layoffs, their first thought's going to be, Who is it? Wrestlers? Did Kofi? Is Drew McIntyre still there? Who did they get rid of? And so then people are like, I don't know who got laid off, and then you find out it's people you don't see on TV. It's people that you're not as emotionally invested in, and so you kind of feel like you got duped. It's not incorrect to say there was massive layoffs, but they're not telling you what kind. Whereas for my news videos, I will put right there, things that happen. Here's what's happening. Here's what's in this video. Here's what's going on. And I don't try to fluff it up and get a bunch of extra views by being as vague as possible with my title. I don't think that's right. And then proof that, and it could be any show, it could be a band, it could be anything, has lost its way. And then you go in and you read it, there's no proof. Because proof is and again, in today's world, I think what qualifies as proof has changed for some people. But it is frustrating to watch a video, to read an article, and realize there's no proof in here. There's nothing in here. And it all comes back to the overly critical part, too. There are clearly people who really want to see AEW fail as a company. And don't seem to understand that if AEW fails as a company, that's hundreds of people losing their jobs. It has no effect whatsoever in WWE if AEW exists. None. But what it does is, it means that there's pressure on WWE to give you good storylines. Lately, the WWE storylines have been really, really good. I think part of it is AEW. As long as you've got competition for eyeballs, you're going to want to make your product better. I do think Vince McMahon being out of the picture helps too when it comes to the creative side of things. But I really think you can't discount just how important it is to have competition, to have other companies the wrestlers can go to, that hundreds of people are able to enjoy, and we're able to enjoy as fans. So that's why I'm never one to say I hope that company goes out of business because this one's better. I hope both of them succeed. I hope both of them do exorbitantly well. I hope WWE has massive, massive profits, and AEW does too. I hope both of them are wildly successful, and that as many wrestlers as possible get to live out that dream of being in front of millions of people and wrestling in front of arenas filled with 50,000 plus people, and have that feeling of I've made it. That feeling of I'm here, I've made it, I proved people wrong who doubted me on my way up. And if you just have one company, there's no pressure in WWE then to make good storylines happen. No matter. They're going to get the ratings anyways. Where else are you going to go for wrestling? Impact? They didn't even have a TV contract. And that's the reality of it, right? Impact tried to get up to where they are, and they're going back to the name TNA, and we'll see if that helps or if any kind of changes they make help. ROH. At times, ROH was the best wrestling in the world. I loved ROH. When they had Adam Cole and they had everybody down there, and I absolutely loved it. It was about 10 years ago. I absolutely loved ROH. But it couldn't compete with WWE. It just didn't have the budget. While the storylines were great and the wrestling was great, it didn't matter. So ROH is now part of AEW. They have the same owner. And I'd rather not see another company go under and see a situation where you've got tons of very, very talented men and women who no longer have jobs, and then people on the internet doing backflips. Yay, they're out of business. Yay, hundreds of people lost their jobs, and it has no impact whatsoever on the company you're following. And I feel like that's unique to wrestling, like TV shows. Were there people out there who were like, man, I love NCIS. I hope Law and Order fails. I hate Law and Order. What a terrible... I hate it so much. NCIS is so much better. It just sounds ridiculous. And that's how I feel when I see, well, WWE's much better than AEW. AEW is so much better than... It's a wrestling show. So... It's a wrestling show. As long as the wrestling's good, doesn't matter. It's for me personally, that's where I go with it. And what people consider good wrestling, opinions are different. I will not claim to be an expert on the topic. I just say that for me, I enjoy certain aspects of AEW. I enjoy certain aspects of WWE. Just like with Doctor Who, I am enjoying the show more now than I did during Jodie Whittaker's era. If you enjoyed Jodie Whittaker's era, great. If you didn't, all right. Because again, I don't think there's a right and wrong answer to that. But right now on the internet, It's all rage. Everything I see with Doctor Who is just so negative right now. Like, I watched the episode the other night and I was like, this, what a great episode. You know, yeah, there's some wonky bits when you're doing the bi-regeneration. Fine, that's kind of wonky. It's the only time they're going to do it. They're not going to do it again. And it was just to retire that Doctor. But yeah, immediately it's just why they broke Doctor. This is terrible. They broke one of their cardinal rules. What a terrible show. This show is awful. It's lost its way. Oh. So it's tough, and I think that's part of the reason why when we watch movies and we do reviews, there's been criticism of reviews that I do with my wife that we're too sunshiny and positive about what we watch. We respect it's difficult to make a movie. We respect that it's difficult to put together a TV show. We appreciate the work, and we also can see the positives. When I go into watching a movie, I go in looking to be entertained. I don't go in thinking, all right, this is going to suck. All right, bring it on. Come on, I can't wait to tell the internet why this movie was terrible. And I just feel like there's people who do that. They go in with their eyes rolling already like, this is going to be stupid. I wish I had a different job. And I don't understand that. I don't get it. Especially with the show Doctor Who, where they have reinvented the show over and over and over and over. It's 60 years. Obviously, it's reinvented itself multiple times and changed lore so many times. It's just part and parcel of the show. But yeah, again, people will just rage and get angry, and I don't want to do that. I really don't. So when I give positive reviews for things, it's because I genuinely enjoyed them. And I thought the episode was great. I've enjoyed wrestling when I've watched wrestling recently. I think it's great. And if people disagree, that's fine too. But I wanted to talk about this and see if other people have had this experience too of just the vague articles. Sometimes they're even YouTube videos where the title is it's there to induce clicks more than to provide information, and that's what drives me crazy. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on my web zone. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always, and I will talk to you again soon.